Hi everyone, I'm Az and I work in the commercial software engineering team at Microsoft. I have more than 10 years experience in developing softwares. Before I joined Microsoft, I was mainly working with content management systems like Sidecore and Umbraco. I am a Sidecore MVP and I'm co-organizer of Sydney Sidecore user group. Also, I'm co-organizer of Girls Geek Sydney. In these photos, you can see my happy life at Microsoft. I'm absolutely proud to be part of the team who helps organizations with their digital transformation by adopting new technologies.
Hey guys, I'm Jordan. I'm in the same team as Az. The team's called Commercial Software Engineering, and we're actually a global team of engineers that freed up from direct product work at Microsoft to go and help organizations, startups, student, enterprise, all that sort of things, build, solve their most difficult problems. The way we like to think of it is that we're a team of friendly geeks that help organizations do some awesome shit. And so we actually do a lot of bot work, and we work across a lot of different projects and things like that with a whole range of organizations. And today we want to show you some of the learnings that we've had building bots over the last year or so. Before I started Microsoft, I actually used to build a whole range of apps for platforms like Xbox and iOS and Android and things like that. With Xbox, on that one device you get the VUI, which is the Connect movement, hand wavy controls. You get the NUI, which is the natural user interface, which is voice control on Xbox. We call it the 10-foot experience, which means that the user's far away from the screen, so you have to design this very differently. And then we've built apps for iOS and Android and cross-platform app dev, where you've got a whole different input paradigm again. So small screen or perhaps tablet, and if you're doing Xamarin apps, you've got iOS, and all of a sudden the same app you're building for UWP on desktop. So there's all these different display paradigms that we handle. And so over the years, we've seen many different paradigms in computing that we as engineers and software devs and software dev teams have to think about how to handle. From screens in the 80s, the internet, searching, producing web pages for people to look at. Now it's all about apps and social. And what we want to show you today is how you can take the engineering concepts that you've learned over the last a long time. Since the 80s we've been building these concepts, and apply them to this new natural language user interface, chatbots and digital assistants and anything that can basically understand humans in a natural form without having to be a computer UI that the humans have to learn instead. And so right now, things are really heating up, and I want to just quickly touch on why chatbots are so important at the moment and why we're all of a sudden all talking about them. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, because of the rise of the mobile computation device being in people's pockets, they're using it more for social stuff and more for organising their day. What's actually happening is people are starting to really use the chat tools like your messengers and your Skypes and things like that. In fact, users are spending most of their time in those apps compared to other apps in the stores and things. And so it's the platform that we now need to deliver our software to. We need to be there, and we need to be able to interact with those users in that area. If they're chatting to their friend, why can't they order a pizza or book a haircut or check their bank account or anything like that? Why do they have to change to somewhere else? We've got the technology now to be able to go and deliver that new experience to them, and that's the next part of it. It's this capability for us as engineers to deliver AI-based solutions. In the past, it's been up to an AI team with data scientists and people building out machine learning based systems and things to actually go and deliver these intelligent systems. But what we're doing is we're democratizing that. We're taking advanced AI systems produced by research teams like MSR, Microsoft Research and others, and making them available through a RESTful endpoint, which means it becomes an engineering problem. We now, as engineers, are able to solve for and deliver AI-based chat systems. And so part of our talk today is around that. As engineers, what do we do and how do we apply all that knowledge that we've had over the last number of years to that problem? And so first up, Az is going to give you guys a refresher on how to get started with a new bot. And then later on, we're going to level up that bot, and we're going to apply a lot of the engineering concepts that we've learned to that specific new UI, the new chat based UI.
All right. Today is Friday and we are getting closer to the weekend. Let's talk about drinks first. I love drinking cocktails, but I have no idea how to make them. Let's make a chatbot that you can ask how to make a cocktail and it returns back the cocktail recipe. Sounds like a fun sample to do on Friday, isn't it? Yay! All right. For doing that, I'm going to use YA generator to scaffold my project. I'm going to name it the Cocktail Master. It returns back, if I can type, the cocktail recipes. I'm going to pick TypeScript as my default language. TypeScript provides type safety, and when it goes to debugging and refactoring, it saves us from a massive headache. And I'm going to pick Luis as my default dialog to make sure generator brings all of the code that I need to integrate my chatbot with Luis. And while its generator is downloading my node module, let's look into the Luis. Luis is an AI tool that uses natural language processing and machine learning to analyze the text based on the model that you define. For example, in our scenario, we want to know if user asks how to make a cocktail. When you work with Luis, there are three concepts that you need to know: intent, utterance, and entity. We want to know the intention of the user, which is how to make a cocktail, right? So we define our intent as how to make a cocktail. Then we provide some samples like how to make margarita. Do you know how to make margarita? What's in margarita? They are showing the same intention. The intention is how to make a cocktail, right? And the information that we want to extract from the text is the cocktail name. We don't care about anything else, but we want to know that what the cocktail name is and return back the cocktail recipe, right? We can define our entity and label it into our samples. After we train and publish our Luis, it will give us the endpoint, that if we call that endpoint with a text, it returns back the top scoring intent with extracted entities. Okay, let's dig into the code. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code as my code editor. I found it's really easy to work with Visual Studio Code when you are working with Node.js and TypeScript projects. As you can see, similar to any Node application, we have packages.json. In a packages.json, we have bot builder, which is a Node module SDK that Microsoft provides to build chatbots. It supports to create a chatbot that can support to support different type of interaction with user. It also has built-in functionality to work with few Microsoft cognitive services like Luis and Q&A Maker. .env is a Node module that you can read config settings from .env file, and it injects it to process.env. And Restify is a Node module to create RESTful endpoints. TSC config is a configuration that TypeScript looks into to transpile TypeScript files into the JavaScript. And I'm going to add extra flag, which is watch. What watch does is, as soon as I type TSC, it not only transpiles all of the TypeScript file into the JavaScript, it also goes to watch mode. And as soon as I change any TypeScript file, it automatically updates the relevant JavaScript. As you can see, I have app.ts, and you guessed it right, it's the starting point of the application. And what it does, it opens an endpoint and listens to all of the post messages that sends to API/messages. And bot.ts is the place that we define our bot object, right? And the second parameter is where we define our default dialog. The default dialog is when you send a message to the chatbot and chatbot has no idea what the message is, it's a default dialog. It can be a message or it can be a series of messages to explain the user what it does and how the user can use it, right? let's test it and let's change the chatbot and explain what our chatbot does, which is, showing you how to make a cocktail, right? I'm going to open a JavaScript file and TypeScript file side by side, so you can see as soon as I change the TypeScript file, it automatically updates the JavaScript file. If I change it to a message and say, hi, I am a cocktail master, you can ask me how to make a cocktail. So you can see it automatically updates my JavaScript file. What I really like in Visual Studio Code is it not only provides a terminal that you can write your command line without opening a new Windows prompt and type your command there and leaving your code editor, it also gives you the chance to have multiple terminals. So I can easily create a new terminal and run another command here, and I can navigate through the terminals easily, right? To improve my development environment, I'm going to install a new Node module called NodeMon. npm install NodeMon. What NodeMon does, it wraps the Node application, and as soon as it sees any JavaScript changes in a path that Node application is running, it automatically updates and restarts the Node server. Now you can see I have a very nice flow of dev environment. When I change my TypeScript file, it automatically TSC Watch looks into it and updates my JavaScript file. And as soon as any JavaScript file changes happens, NodeMon pick it up and restarts the Node server. So I don't need to shuffle around the terminal, type command, so it automatically brings everything all together. All right. Now I'm going to add my start script. NodeMon app.js. And if I type npm start, as you can see, NodeMon takes over and it runs the Node application. And it opens the port for me. Now let's test the chatbot. For testing a chatbot, I'm going to use Bot Emulator. Bot Emulator is a desktop application that Microsoft Framework has it, and you can test your chatbot locally or remotely. And for testing it locally, you only need to provide the endpoint. And as soon as I provide the endpoint and type message, it returns back our default dialog. At the moment, our chatbot is bot of few words. He has no idea about the message. So if I send lol, it returns back the default dialog because there is no analyzing the text behind it. Now let's add a functionality to analyze the text and return back a correct, relevant message. Oopsie. So for doing that, I need to go to the bot.ts. And you can see Bot Builder has a built-in functionality to analyze the text. One of them is you can integrate it with Luis that I saw the model. I showed you the model. So what you can do is you can easily copy the endpoint that Luis provides and paste it in your .env file. I know that I copied some extra rubbish here. Okay. And when we go to bot.ts, now it recognizes the text. So now we know that if user sends, we know the top intent or top scoring intent. Now we need to register our dialog. Similar to normal conversation, in Chatbot, to manage the conversation flow, we are using dialogues. Now we can easily register our dialog and say, if the top scoring intent is matching with the dialog name, go and follow the steps in the dialog. And it's not magic. Our generator includes a dialog for us. So what I need to do is go to the location of my Luis dialog and make sure that the name of dialog is matching with my intent name, which is how to make a cocktail. All right? So if I update the name and ID, and we need to extract the cocktail name, right? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we extract the cocktail name. Oops. From the entity, from the text. So what happens is, if Luis can extract the cocktail name, we go to the next step and we say, you said blah. If not, we ask user, please provide the cocktail name. So now let's test it. So if I ask how to make margarita, it said you said margarita. If I ask, where is the nearest pub? We all know what the intention is, but we haven't trained our model to understand that. And it defaults back to the default dialog. It falls back to the default dialog. Okay, so the next step is, instead of sending back a boring message, you said the cocktail name, we need to actually return back the cocktail recipe. I'm going to integrate our code with a free open source API, which is called the Cocktail DB. It has more than 3,000 cocktail recipes. I highly recommend you guys to go and check it to impress your partner or your friends. Right, okay, so for doing that, I'm going to create a service to call the API. The first thing I'm going to do, because I picked TypeScript and I like really to have typed services. So first I'm going to define the interface of my D2 object, and I call it iCocktail.ts. And to save some time, I created some code snippet, right? And my interface has only 4 properties: title, instruction, ingredients, and image. Now I'm going to write a service to call the API. As you can see, it's a very simple class with one method. It gets the cocktail name and maximum of number of cocktail recipes that we want to return back, and it returns back an array of cocktails. The next step is integrate our service and import our class and call it in our dialog. So I can easily import it. Because it's a relevant address, I need to provide a relevant address. And instead of sending the boring message, I'm going to call the cocktail DB that get cocktails, provide the cocktail name we got from users, and maximum result that we want to return back. So if I ask how to make margarita, okay, so you can see now I have a recipe, a nice cards, information cards that it shows the image of the cocktail and the cocktail name and the cocktail recipe, and I can see all of them. Okay, the resolution is not as good as I expected, but you get the idea. Yay! All right. So now you can see here. I defined a card, and I showed it as a carousel, and I attached it to the session, and I sent it back. Now you saw that we built a fully functional chatbot in less than 15 minutes. You can tweet it #impressed. We saw we know how to make a chatbot in less than 15 minutes, and you can win hackathons. All right.
Thank you very much, Az. Okay, so that's a really fantastic canonical example of how you go about getting started with building a chatbot. What I want to do now is take that and level it up and show you guys some of the stuff that we've been working on over the last year or so around how we put together bots in the real world and how we deliver those in a nice way. So taking all those software concepts I was talking about before, making code bases that are manageable and easy for new devs on the code base to come and get started, as well as less experienced developers. All that stuff that over the years we've learned, and we'd like to know how to apply to the current stuff, to this new paradigm, natural language user interfaces. And so what I'm actually going to do is show you guys some code base that we've put together. It's available on GitHub. We call it Bot Boiler, so opposed to Bot Builder. This is the boilerplate code. It's not an NPM package or any hidden away in a library or NuGet or anything like that. It's actually some code that you generate either using our Bot Boiler Yeoman generator, or you can go off to the GitHub repo and grab that and install it yourself. So we've got this GitHub repo here. We'll show you the URL for that at the end. But essentially, it's got a lot of instructions on how to get started and just some samples on how to use it all and everything like that. You might notice I'm actually going to do my demo today on a Mac. So as was using Visual Studio Code and building bots on Windows there, I'm going to do the same thing on a Mac. All of these tools are available on iOS, on Mac and Windows, and also Linux. So if you're using Linux desktop, you can do that there as well. So what I've actually got here is I've got a pre-generated project running that I've set up just to save a bit of time. We've seen how Yeoman Generator works earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate what Az just did in the base example there, and I'm going to do it in the enterprisey, I guess, way, using some of those other concepts. So first off, I'm going to go and create a new cocktail search dialog, which is that dialog that Az was just using. To make it easier to use this Bot Boiler code, we've got a Visual Studio extension that we've created called Bot Boiler Helpers. So it's got some snippets in there you can use to help create some dialogues and other little things, and we're going to keep adding things to that over time. But it's all under the BB snippet thingy, so if you just type BB, it's going to show up there and we can create a simple dialogue. So you don't need to remember all that stuff that you need to include and everything. I'm going to call this guy the cocktail search dialog. It's got little tabs in there that you can move between the thingies, the fields. I'm just going to paste them in. The trigger at the moment is set to a regex, which means that when that regex matches that word trigger, it's going to call this dialog. I'm going to change that to be a string instead, because I want it to match one of those Lewis intents that Az was showing before. So to match a Lewis intent, all I have to do to get that to work is just change this piece of text here, and it's how to make a cocktail. Ooh, if I spell that wrong, it's going to be bad. Okay, so it's as easy as that. I'm just going to clear out the steps down here, and then just quickly have a look at the structure of this guy. So before in Azadeh code, I'm just going to switch back to another Visual Studio Code over here that I've got running. This is the dialogue that we saw before. Can you guys see that okay down the back? Do you want me to zoom? I think I know there's a button to zoom, but anyway. Whoa, dialogues. But what it is we've got these waterfall steps, and they're in an array, and they're JavaScript functions that are passed into the array. That's the regular example, I guess. What I've actually got over here is a nice ES6, I think it's ES6 anyway, class. And it's more TypeScripty. You can see that it's extending and implementing interfaces. But essentially what it's doing is exposing steps as more like methods, I guess, than those functions in the array. And then, so they're nice and easy to write and separated and everything like that. And they also get the context of the object. So later on we can do this dot and access things, which you wouldn't be able to do from the other ones in that array. The other thing is that then we export them from the waterfall. So we can sort of control which steps get exported in what order and play with it and everything like that. It's not sort of hard-coded into the way that array is situated. What I'm going to do is just quickly go here, just session.end dialog with a hi from the new search dialog. Cool. Save that guy. What I'm going to do is run the same watch tools that Az was working with before. I don't need to re-explain them. So this is running the TypeScript watcher. I'm going to create a new terminal here. I'm going to go npm run output watch. It's better, typos. And now it's running. When I edit it, it's going to reload and everything like that. You'll notice here that it's actually written out some of the dialogues that the app's already got. I will zoom in on that. Some basic dialogue, little dialogue, just some sample stuff. To actually go and, in this template code, in this boilerplate code, to go and add these dialogues to the bot, we don't actually go across into the bot code and start digging through and adding them manually and things. We're using conventions. We're configuring the bot as opposed to, I guess, coding it in many ways. So what we've got instead is this dialogue index file, and anything that we export from here is going to be automatically picked up by the framework code and added to the bot. So I can just go import cocktail search dialogue from cocktails, that's cocktail search dialogue. All right, first time. And I'll just add it to the exports here. So importing in, exporting out, save that. NodeMon's going to go and reload it. And I've got to save the other guy first. That's what's going on there. Save this guy. Now, NodeMon will reload, and then you can see the cocktail search dialogue's showing up. So it's composing the bot instead, using conventions. Super easy for new devs on the project to pick up. The way that's working is we've got a startup file. If you've ever done any ASP.NET Core or similar I guess, work, this file is actually creating an IOC container using the Inversify JavaScript IOC. It's like a TypeScript JavaScript-y IOC container. It's really quite good. And what it's doing is it's composing that, and it's adding some services and adding all sorts of stuff. It's got some cool stuff around it. It detects if you're running in functions or Lambda, or if you're using Restify in your local machine, and actually will adjust the services that are injected, so that way it abstracts away a lot of the complexities around different server hosts and things like that. But the whole idea of it is that it's composing our app instead of putting it together in that sort of big, single file, lots of stuff going down, lots of methods and things like that. So you see here, I'm actually bringing in that dialogue index guy there from before, where we exported the other dialogue from. And if I go down into register dialogues, it's looping through each of them and then registering them on the IOC container. Oops, sorry. So it's actually going, hey, are you a function? Cool. Yep, I'm going to go and add you onto the container as an iDialog. And we can label them with Inversify. So later on I can say, hey, give me back everything that's an iDialog that is called dialog, which is cool because it means that we can pull them out later to do testing on them as well. We can also pull them out in the main app, of course. We can also register our own things. So I've got this iCocktail service here registered, implements the iCocktail service, and the concrete is a cocktail service that I've already written. So again, things are available. We can access them in unit tests or in actual dialogues and things like that. The way it all comes together, I've switched now to the bot service file. This is the main service, so whereas startup was composing the IOC container and getting everything ready, this is what actually goes and applies it and boots the app. So we're injecting in some dialogues because we're going to need those. We can inject anything in there if we want. The whole idea of this code is that you can modify it. It's not tucked away. You're meant to modify this. You're meant to customize it and everything like that. It really is just a starting point. It's creating the bot, like we saw before. And it's enabling Lewis and doing all that sort of stuff, all tucked away. And then it's taking the dialogues and it's actually adding them to the bot in the way that you would if you were to go and do it manually. So we're not sort of intercepting deep into the bot builder framework and doing all this black magic. You can actually see, like, you can pull it apart and it's really quite simple the way it goes together. We've got trigger actions still and all that sort of stuff. So it's meant to be simple. So what I'm going to do is, instead of booting up that guy yet, I'm going to go and dev this particular dialogue from unit tests instead, so that way I can validate it's working without having ever actually typed something to the bot. I'm going to do a simple example of that first. In this system, we're using a unit test framework called Ava, which is a modern JavaScript unit test framework. It's pretty cool. It's quite powerful and really easy to use. To use it, I've actually got another folder here for tests. So before we were working out of source, which is the output of the app and everything like that. We've got another one called test, and it's got its own tsconfig and everything like that, which means that we actually have to build that separately. So I'm going to do that. npm run test watch build. Okay, so there's another TSC running. So right now I've got, like, if I switch through them all, we've got starting to build up a little collection of stuff. NPM, and they can all run together. I don't have to stop the other output build, which I'm going to use in the emulator to actually start doing unit tests as well. NPM run test watch Ava. It's going to go and actually run my tests across everything. And you can see there I've got, probably it's going to go to 6. Yeah, there we go. Cool. I've got mostly passing ones and one failing one, and that's this guy because it's not making any assertions. It's a silly test if it doesn't make assertions. These tests are really easy. I can go t-dot here, which is the test thingy, the test context. And you can see all the stuff. It's all testy stuff you can do. There we go. Like, they're just assertions. Anyway. So I can go t-dot is true, true. That's just saying true is true. Cool, save it. Now, like everything else we've been doing, it's actually monitoring. So it's just done a transpile to JavaScript. Ava's also detected the change to JavaScript code and rerun the test. Notice it's only run one test. Ava's doing that thing where it knows the impact of changed code and just runs the tests again that are impacted. So that's pretty sweet, right? So what I'm going to go and do is add in some code. I too know how to work snippets now. No more green goo, yay. So what I'm going to do is actually go and pull in the cocktail service off the IOC container. This is sort of using it more like a service locator. I'm not actually injecting it, but the idea is the same. I can grab the cocktail service. I'm going to go make sure that that's truthy. Just sort of make sure it's there, you know, because I might have stuffed up the registration or something like that. There we go, cool, it's still passing. That's something at least. And then what I can do is I can sort of, I actually like using TypeScript a bit like, I'm a C# dev, I'm a C# dev by trade. So I really love the way that you can do stuff like this in TypeScript. Equals await, this cocktail service, cocktail dot get cocktails, and you get a Manhattan. And I was typing much better before. Okay, I got a result. I want to make sure, so I've limited to 2. I'm just going to go t.is result.length, length 2. That's my assertion. That's just probably enough for now just to prove that the thing's working. You see it's gone off and actually got the data and it's checked that the result is 2. So I've got await, I've got async, the tests are now failing because I've changed it there, and you can see it's outputting exactly what's happened. So, and it gives you a lot of info about that. In fact, this case is probably, yeah, it's showing me where the test failed and everything. So Ava's, it's pretty cool. It's a good way to dev. And certainly, obviously, it's a good way to do unit testing and stuff like that as well. I actually use it a lot in this way, just to actually dev my apps, without having to keep running them. And especially with bots, you start, if you're deving deep into dialogues, like you've got 3 dialogues in or something like that, you don't want to have to keep going, all right, hi, and you're like, all right, then. You don't have to do that every time. You want to just get straight in there and actually just be unit testing the dialogue you're working on. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got these other dialogue tests. They're empty, and they just got this basic assertion in there, just making sure that we're not failing. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to go back and into my cocktail search dialog here and implement step 1, which is cool. What I've got here is actually a very common pattern with bots. What I'm doing is I'm checking to see if the entity is present in the Lewis intent that gets passed in via the args argument. It doesn't have to be there, so you can actually fire Lewis intents without having the entity present. It still fires the intent, it just says, sorry, the entity's not here, but I think they're intending to do this. So what you do is, if the entity's present, you just go straight to the next step and pass in the entities, because you've already got it. But if it isn't present, then what you do is you ask for it and prompt the user. Very common pattern. What I want to do is actually test that in a unit test. So making sure that if the entity is present, go down one path. If the entity isn't present, go down the other path. So let's do that. We've got our cocktail service tests. We want the main cocktail search tests. I'm amazing at naming things. Two main tests. I'm going to test one in one and the reverse of that in the other. So what I need to do first is go up here and grab myself the dialog that I want to test. I'm just going to grab it in the constructor of the unit test itself, just so I don't have to do it for every one. So just 1B, cool. So I'm resolving the dialog. That's actually in the base class. So these unit tests are extending or inheriting from test base. I go into that guy there, and what it's actually doing is it's going to the container, and it's getting it named of type T that is being registered with the dialog that we saw before, with a name of whatever is in that dialog name. It should be called dialog name, that variable, but anyway. And that's going to be the cocktail search dialog. So, go back. So I've got a search dialog there. I might just make sure that it's truthy. Truthy, this dot on the search dialog, there we go. Save that test, make sure it's passing. Awesome, 2 passed because there's 2 tests in this file. Now what I need to do is grab out the function. So the beauty is because of the way that those waterfall steps are actually set up and exposed from this dialog that I've just got, I can go var func equals this dot underscore search dialog dot waterfall 0. It's the first one on it. Now I've got a handle to the instance of that function, which is pretty cool. It means I can call it and experiment with it and everything like that. Which is, I guess, the first look at why we're writing those dialogues in that way, so we can pull them out like this. Before we actually go and call it, we need some way to discriminate or to test that we've actually using it in the right way. So we've got Ava test framework. What we've also got here is another framework called Sign-On, which is the ability to mock and spy and stub methods and do all sorts of stuff in unit tests, so then you can validate that stuff happened the way that you thought. The first example of that is the next. So I might just go back to the cocktail search dialog here. And in step 1, have a look at the parameters that get passed in. It takes a session, the args, which are any, so I can pass in whatever, and it takes next, which is a function. And it's nice that next pass in, because it means that we can actually pass in a next, our own next, something else, which is one of these stubs. So we'll do that. So we're going to go var next equals sign-on.spy. Now, instead of calling the real next, whatever that might have been, it's going to, whenever we call next, it's going to record the call count, it's going to record what it was called with, and then later on we can check to see what happened there during the calls. The next one is, let's just go back to the cocktail search dialog for a minute, is this builder.prompts.txt. Now that's not being passed in, and so this actually looks like one of those, it's a more global style thing. It's not coming in from anywhere local. It's part of the SDK, the bot builder SDK, so we need to stub that guy as well. So we're going to go text spy there on the next. And we can stub other methods. We don't have to actually stub just, like we did before we created a stub. So we can go stub builder.prompts. And we're going to stub the text method there. Cool. So now, when we call builder.prompts.text, pass in the session, pass in the prompt to do, we can go, hey, were you called with that or not? So we can check that. So now we can start to think about the session object, which is actually a big JavaScript object, or a big object in the SDK. It's fired up and created for you, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I can't just go var session equals new builder.session here. It takes these iSession options. If you go and have a look at that, there's a heap of stuff on it. It's a big object with all sorts of more objects off it. It's really hard to create. But lucky with sign-on, we can just go, hey, can you just mock the whole thing and don't worry about it? So I can grab out this session, start get session there, and I'll just go and let's have a look at that. Let's go to sign-on. Hey, can you please create me a stub instance of this entire thing? And builder.session is newable. It's got a constructor. This doesn't run that, so that way we don't get into strife by passing in nothing to it. And instead, what it does, it just makes all of the methods on session spy, so we can actually see anything anywhere in the framework calling that. Anything that calls it that expects something back, we'd have to do a better mock of it. But for now, we're not really doing much with it, so we can just pass it in and we're good to go. So we've got that session object there now. Cool. Let's call func, pass in the session. We need the args. So what's going into that dialog is coming out of Lewis, and it's a bunch of intents and an entity maybe and things like that. What I did earlier is I actually just ran it and just output it into JSON and captured it. So I've got one here that we can use. Okay. Here's the JSON object literal of that. It's a big object there. Oh, there we go. So you can see that entities is empty. So just going to double check quickly. Test gets our cocktail. No entity. Cool, the right one. So no entities there. So we want to make sure that it calls the builder.prompts.text in this one. So I'm going to pass that args into the first one there. And of course, next. Okay. First step is we've modified something in the SDK, builder.prompts.text. So we need to go text_by.restore to actually turn it back to the old function. The beauty in JavaScript, and it's a beauty and a curse, is that you can do what the hell you want. You can replace methods, you can do all sorts of stuff. It's really handy if you're mocking, but just remember, be a good citizen and clean up after yourself, or else we would have left our spy on that object for everything else to use, and certainly wouldn't have been behaving atomically, this unit test. It would have been affecting other things because it's part of the SDK. So remember to restore them. Now, the next thing is that we can do is we can go, hey, next. T.is is not. T.not. Next.called. Okay. I'll do that differently. T.is next.call count 0. Okay. So we don't want it to have been called because it's got to go down the builder.prompts task. And then we can go T.is T.called, true. And that one's going to be text by, which is the builder.prompts.text called with the session. Let's have a look back here. It's getting called with the session and this piece of text. So we just want to make sure that's also happening. Back into tests. Paste that in. All right, so it's getting called with that session object. So it's actually storing the object reference and everything like that. And it's getting called with that piece of text. Okay, what have I done wrong? Oh, I didn't save the other one. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you. No, you can't. You're not eligible. Microsoft stuff. So basically, yeah, you can see that it's checking those two things have been called. If I just make a small change here, there we go. And we're getting that error again. So that's saying basically that object was not the same. You can see that it was called with that instead of the other thing. So it's working there. I'm going to invert that unit test now, so that way I can just basically grab and copy the test. Okay. Replace that. Obviously, we need different args. So this time I'm going to grab another set of args that actually have the intent present. So I've typed something different this time. Whoop. It's got the entities here. There we go, entities. It's passed in an entity. It's a Manhattan. I've asked for the Manhattan this time. Obviously, I want to make sure that next this time is called because it's skipping over the builder, and text by dot called with t dot is call count 0. Cool. And hopefully we're good there. All right, 2 past, 11:04. That is the time. All right. So that's a fairly basic unit test of how you can directly test the methods in those dialogues by mocking out things. Let's go and finish that dialogue off so we can actually see the guy running. So step 2 is a bit more code in here. Okay. So what I've actually just done is brought in some more code. First thing we notice is this code's actually trying to call this.cocktail service. Now that wouldn't have been possible in the existing waterfall steps methodology. You can see it's got an await there, so this has got to be an async method. So these guys support async. which is awesome. I don't have a this.cocktail service yet, so I need to inject it. So I'm just going to go up here and go private cocktail service. My cocktail service. See here, this is a cool thing with TypeScript in Visual Studio Code. I actually haven't imported that yet, but as soon as I press enter, it actually goes up and finds it and adds and imports it for me from model contracts. I'm going to change that a bit because I want to import everything from there because I'm going to need some more stuff. I'm going to import everything from model contracts as to as. Okay, so I got the private cocktail service. In the constructor, I can ask for a cocktail service of type model contracts dot iCocktail service. Well, actually, I can't. One feature of TypeScript is that interfaces aren't available at runtime, and that's when I need to know what I'm trying to get. So what I actually have to do is use these ES6 decorators. I need to actually tell it what I need to inject. It's just a little bit of, it's the only thing that's I'm not quite super happy with the way they inject things here, but it's mainly because I'm just used to C# where you can do that. So I'm going to just grab in the iCocktail service here. You can see that that's getting injected. So I've just taken a dependency on that. I haven't told anywhere else. Because we're using ISE and stuff, I can just grab any service that's available and start injecting here without having to change any other code. I don't have to change my unit tests either. They're just going to work because that's how injection works. So all the dependencies are managed by the object itself. And then I can just go this dot underscore cocktail service, cocktail service, save it. And there we go, the dependency's been picked up. And like as code before, I'm taking the result of that and I'm just looping through and putting out a hero card to use. Now all this time I've been doing the unit tests, I have actually still been running in Versify. So it's been loading and reloading over here. So what I can do is I can go into the bot framework emulator. It runs on the Mac as well. And go show me how to make a cocktail. And this is path 1. And it goes, okay, sure, what kind of cocktail are you looking for? This is the builder.prompt. I know it's working because I did the unit test. I want a Manhattan, please. It's going to go off and find some Manhattans. Show me how to make a Manhattan. All right, so this time I went down the other path, went straight to next, and showed me how to make a Manhattan. So you can see those two things working. Okay, all right, so I mentioned before that this code is flexible and everything. It can run on functions. It's actually built to run on AWS Lambda as well, although at the moment it's not. We'll do that next. And it also runs locally. So what I want to do now is show how cool it is, how easy it is to actually dev here and have it all show up in Azure and have it actually run live whilst I'm deving it here. And to do that, I actually wrote a little tool called Kscratch. What it is, it's a little node npm thingy where you can grab the publish profile out of your app service, which is where the functions run, and you can then go and upload things up to Azure and have it run immediately. You can also have it show the logs locally. So in Visual Studio Code, I can see what the functions are doing and running. And I can also have it monitor for changes. So we've got unit tests getting built and then run, and output getting built and Restify being reloaded. And we're also going to start pinging things up to Azure as well. So to demonstrate that, what I'm going to do is I've got Kudu running here. Now what Kudu is, it's this little app that runs in every single Azure app service. And Azure app service is where functions run. They can also run websites and all sorts of other things. But essentially it's this little app. It's got an API, so you can send stuff to it. That's how Kscratch works. That's why it's called Kscratch, Kudu Scratch. It's also, I can run PowerShell on my host up here. I can do a bunch of stuff. But essentially, for now, I can actually just see the files. So here it is there. It's empty. I'm going to go back into my thingy here. Put me off, Visesh. Keeps talking to me on Twitter. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over here so I can see. You can just see the files there, so just keep an eye on that. I'm going to need another prompt here. I'm going to go into the output directory. I'm going to go into the run directory, which is where some stuff is. Let's have a look. ls, looks like some stuff. And ks-u. It's actually going to go grab it and just boom, see it go up to Azure. It's actually sitting up on Azure now, ready to go. It's going to be cold because I deleted the whole lot, so I'm just going to quickly just run an npm install. It shouldn't take too long because I've got the modules sitting there already. But as I'm running that, npm install, I can go ks-l for log stream output, grabs the log stream out of the Azure App Service and it's going to pop it out here, and -u for monitoring. So, minus m. U means upload. So I've just uploaded it twice. It's probably just ruined the demo, but anyway. But now I can see the log stream's outputting here. npm's still running. Everything's just warming up. It's hard to do this demo without having it cold, unfortunately. You can see it's actually popping out some log stream stuff there. Let's make that go big again. Log stream stuff coming out. And the npm restores appear to have worked. With npm, you never, I think Hanselman said it the other day, he did an npm restore the other day and it didn't get any errors. It was amazing. All right, so I got my, if I just refresh this guy here, I can see I've got the bot function showing up. It's just appeared. I'm just going to quickly just press run on that guy just to, again, warm it up. This is going to take a little bit, so what I'm going to do while I'm doing that, it actually is going to go and cache all the npm modules. So it gets really quick on the next one, but this one's going to take a second. So what I'm going to do is flip over here to this cocktail bot. What it is basically the bot framework has a dev.botframework.com where you go and register your bots. The bot connector is what talks to Skype, Slack, everything like that. And your bot code runs on your server, on Azure, or on an Azure function or whatever, and that's where you write your bit. And the bot connector abstracts away the clients, so the web client, or direct line, or Skype, or Slack. You don't have to worry about which one it is. You just write the same piece of code, like what I've just done, and the connector worries about everything else. But you've got to register the bot in the connector. You get an app ID, an app password, things like that. It's really easy to do. But what I've done here is this is my bot. I've got some configurations. You can see there's a URL for my bot there, which is actually that Azure function that I just uploaded. This is all stuff I've obviously prepared earlier. Just going to see if that guy's actually run yet. Boom. All right, it's running immediately now. What I can do, though, is I can actually pop this guy out here and go test the bot. So I can go, show me how to make a Manhattan. This may not work the first time. I don't know why, but sometimes it doesn't. See? Just try that again. Grab the URL. This always gives me a heart attack when this stuff happens. Like there's a bit of black magic. Like this, I think 5 times it worked last time. So I'll just make sure this happens here. See if there's any outputs. There's some outputs there. Something's happening. Retry. See, that didn't fail. Okay. Okay, so what it was doing there though, see how it goes okay searching for Manhattan. What I might do is I might actually just go, and I can remember how to search on Mac. There we go, it's like Command F6. I don't know, all these buttons are weird. It says okay, comma searching. And I'm just going to go find that piece of code. I'm going to go, cool. This exclamation mark just really make it stand out. Watch it down here. It's going to TypeScript compile. It's actually going and sending it up, so it's uploading it as I edit it. Sometimes it doesn't restart the bot, unfortunately. So I've got to go into the output here and just touch the app.function. Sometimes it does, I don't know what. By uploading this, you'll see the bot will actually go, cool, the bot code's changed. There we go, cool, it's reloading. Up on here, I can go, show me how to make Manhattan. This time, that code's already running up there. Just going to wait a second. The reason why it's so slow is this is all over in the US. Normally you would deploy your bot in the US data center and this would be a lot quicker. Also the fact that, see there's cool, searching for Manhattan. Now, here, show me to make a Manhattan. I don't even like cocktails, I like beer, just so you know, if you ever buy me a drink, don't get me a Manhattan. Cool, see that? So it's running locally as well. This is still running on a local machine. So you can easily dev using live servers and this. Obviously you wouldn't dev to production like that without, I don't know, you could, but I wouldn't. So that's pretty cool. I just want to spend just 2 minutes on something and then I'm going to finish up. Before I mentioned in the search dialog there, this pattern here, they're finding an entity and then asking to fill the data for it if it's not there, otherwise just continue on. It's actually quite common. And over the year, we've noticed that there's quite a few different patterns like this that show up. So what we've done as part of the bot boiler is we've actually made it so then instead of having to write code to implement these scenarios, we've made it so that you can just configure them instead. And we're working on more and more scenarios. And I know that other people out there in the community are working on similar things like this to make it a bit easier to work on these dialogues and make them a bit more flexible and things. So what I've got here is I'm going to go and add some more functionality to my bot. So first one is, hey, can I please find bots by ingredient? Cocktails by ingredient. So I want to show me what cocktails can be made with vodka. And it's saying, the entity ingredient needs to come in from Lewis or else ask for it. And if you need to ask for it, use this text. The second type is, get me a random cocktail. Okay, format that. This time, no fields. You don't obviously need to ask for what type of random cocktail. And it goes, okay, let me get some random up in here. Now, the interesting thing is that before I was calling a method from my local bot, so kind of, if I'm doing configuration, it kind of doesn't really make sense to have to then go and write code anyway. But this one here is actually going off and calling for that information from another Azure function. Or it could be from another Docker container that's running with this one or anything like that. The whole idea is I can configure these guys and have a whole range of services that they can call on as long as they're implementing the right interface. I can save that guy there and just got to quickly make sure that those two are included on the container up here. Okay, save that. I should close Twitter, shouldn't I? And then I can show me a random cocktail. And now instead of having to actually write the code, it goes and uses that configuration and calls that web service and shows me the random cocktail. Like that, I really did just add that piece of functionality just now with that one little bit of text. It's pretty awesome. So that's what we're working on. It's so new, the product team hasn't even heard of it yet. It's fantastic. But if you want to know how to work it and get started with this, then please come up and see us after, or Az is going to show you some links now and things like that. But that's the main demo bit done. So.
Okay, these are the links that, if you like to know more about chatbots, we really recommend you to go and have a look. We have a growing community on Stack Overflow. If you ask any question, we get notification on Stack Overflow. These are the tags that you need to use. So if you ask any question regarding chatbots, we are friendly people. You always can reach out us on Twitter, and we love to hear that how you are planning to use chatbots in your organization. We might be able to help. So this is the slide that I recommend you to take a photo. All right. Was it too quick?
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. I slided it. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. All right. So these are two other talks about chatbots that are showing that how you can use chatbots in a different aspects. Nigel and Vish. So Nigel speaks in room 2 at 3, and Vish speaks at 4:20 at room 1. So they are really interesting talks and very great presenters. So I highly recommend them to go and have a look. And thanks for listening to this talk, and happy Friday.